We're going to be getting into propaganda. Lesson 16. There's a lot of propaganda going on right now. People are being persuaded to buy things. People are being persuaded to do things. We have to understand the significance and the danger of what propaganda is and what it can mean for us and our children. So since they're not going to be teaching none of these lessons in school, the public school system, we're going to be teaching it right here. So let's go ahead and get into propaganda. Propaganda means to propagate or to make known extensively some particular phase of human intelligence. The desire to convert or influence the people to the acceptance of a truth of that particular intelligence that is sought to be spread among them. Propaganda can be true or false in its origin or intent, but it is always directed at the public for the purpose of winning the support of that public to the sentiment expressed in the propaganda. If you hate a man, giving him a bad name may explain one of the purposes of propaganda without truth behind it. Nearly all organized efforts have a system of propaganda to convert people to their principles and get them to support them, even though there may be no merit behind it at all. Propaganda is all around you to make you buy a special brand of cigarettes, although no good, but advertised to be the best. To make you drink or use a certain brand of tea, telling you all the wonderful qualities and its everlasting benefits when there's absolutely nothing to it, and so on. Before the war of 1914 and 1918, the Germans were known to be the most cultured and scientific people in Europe. When the war started, the other nations, in order to discredit the Germans and hold them up to the world ridicule and the contempt of civilization, they released propaganda that classified the Germans as Huns and barbarians. This also reveals how organized intention can be carried to the public for public acceptance without thought. Listen, this also reveals how organized intention can be carried to the public for public acceptance without thought. The press, cinema, pulpit, schoolroom are all propaganda agencies for one thing or another. The pulpit carries religious propaganda. The schoolroom carries educational propaganda. The press carries out written propaganda. The platform carries on oral propaganda. The cinema carries out demonstrative propaganda. These methods have been devised by the white man to spread his ideals universally among men. That is why he is able, in a major sense, to control the minds of the people of the world. The white man is a great propagandist. He fully and completely realizes the value of propaganda. I'm going to need you to pay attention to this. Therefore, you must organize your propaganda to undo the propaganda of other people. If their propaganda affects your interests, the Bible is religious propaganda. The school book is literary propaganda. The novels and books you read are also literal propaganda, all calculated to bring about certain results beneficial to the propagandist. Never forget then that you are surrounded by a world of propaganda, all dressed up or cooled up to suit a doubtful public that is not careful about what it digests. Listen to this. Never forget that you are surrounded by a world of propaganda, all dressed up or cooped up to suit a doubtful public that is not careful about what it digests. The artist is also a propaganda. He paints pictures to convey the idea he wants to impress upon the non-thinking and doubtful public. The sculptor is also a propagandist. He chisels figures and portrays them to suit the aim or purpose he wants to achieve. The pictures of the Madonna and Christ and of the angels are painted portraying a white race, so as to inflict upon the rest of the world the belief that God, the angels, and the Holy Family are all white, as well as Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve were black. They also paint the devil as the imps of hell black to impress upon the world the belief that all that is black is evil and all that is white is good and holy. Tear from your walls. Listen. Tear from your walls all pictures that glorify other races. Tear up and burn every bit of propaganda that does not carry your ideal of things. Treat them as trash. When you go to the cinema and you see the glorification of others in the pictures, don't accept it. Don't believe it to be true. Instead, visualize yourself achieving whatever is presented. And if possible, organize your propaganda to that effect. You should always match propaganda with propaganda. Have your own newspapers. Start your own artisans, your own sculptors, your own pulpits, your own platforms. Print your own books and show your motion pictures and sculpture your own subjects. Never accept as yours subjects of another race, but glorify all the good in yourselves. There's no hatiness at all. You don't go to any Asian, Puerto Rican, well, I ain't gonna say Puerto Rican because they're descendants of us as well. But any of these other ethnic groups, Samoa, you're not gonna go at any of these people's houses and see any pictures or artifacts of African people, of black people. You know what I'm saying? Of people of melanated descent. Boys, slow down. We got game to give you. Never allow your children to play with or have white dolls. It will give them the idea of having white children themselves. Give them the dolls of their own race to play with, and they will grow up with the idea of race love and race purity. If this is not true, then you point me to a house of non-black people who have black dolls, black pictures on their walls for their kids to see, black coloring books. No, it's the exact opposite around. You go to any melanated person's house, more than likely, a high percentage of any melanated person's house and who have kids, you're going to see white Barbie dolls. What this is doing is crushing the mind and the confidence of that black child, so they will grow up with the belief that there is something wrong with the skin that they're in. This leads to self-hate, skin bleaching, and another assorted variety of different psychological ailments that black people are faced with here in America. Watch the newspapers, magazines, and journals daily for propaganda against your race or your institutions, particularly against the UNIA. Rush into print immediately a defense of your race, institutions, and organizations from any attack. Never allow an insult propagated to go unanswered by you. Be ever vigilant to down anything by way of propaganda that dishonors or discredits you. Don't help the other fellow to carry on propaganda against yourself or your race. All propaganda comes from the arranged desire of individuals and not from a race as a whole. It is the thinkers and leaders who originate propaganda. By insisting on its wide distribution, they get other people to think as they like. Don't accept the thoughts of others through propaganda unless it coincides with yours. Don't follow the band down the street because it plays sweet music to the propaganda of the circus manager. He may lead you into the circus tent and take away your pocketbook. That is to say, don't get on anybody's bandwagon because he may drive you to hell with his sweet music. You can see Garvey had a little humor. Like the piper of Hamlin, who played his sweet pipe and led the rats out of the city and into the sea and drowned them. Propaganda organized by somebody else is always calculated to take advantage of you. Don't help them do so. Always ask, what is this about? What is the object of this? Who sent this out? What is he aiming at? Will it hurt me and my race? Is he trying to get an advantage over me? Is it honest? Is it true? If you ask these questions of all propaganda that comes up before you swallow it, you will be able to take care of yourself. Don't sing the songs and repeat the praises that glorify other races. Sing your own songs and recite your own praises that glorify your own race. For instance, It is foolish for Negroes to sing or say, Britons never shall be slaves, when they themselves have been slaves and are likely to be slaves if they don't impress upon the minds that they as Negroes will never be slaves again. Sing therefore, Negroes shall never be slaves. Be careful how you sing religious hymns that have been written, dished up, and made popular by white writers to glorify the white race in the name of God. Taking advantage of the silence of God to impress inferiority upon your race, such as the great white wings of angels or the great white throne of God. Wash me white as snow. All these are damnably vicious forms of propaganda against the black race. Through my sins be as scarlet, they shall be whiter than snow. Wash me in the blood, and I shall be whiter than snow. All these things reflect the propaganda designed by the white man to glorify his skin and his race against the black imps of hell and the black devil and the black pale of doom. The idea of the white man making black a symbol of mourning and sadness is just to show the extreme of purity of whiteness and its joy and happiness. Reverse this. If possible, teach the Negro that when he is in mourning, he should wear white, and when he is happy, to wear black. This is the meeting of propaganda with propaganda, the hatchet with the hatchet, the stick with the stick, and the stone with the stone. Everything on earth is man's creation. So out of man's propaganda in the mind, he has created his special systems of opinion to meet his designs. Therefore, customs are based upon acceptance of propaganda skillfully engineered. Have your own propaganda and hand it down through the ages. Write your own poetry and recite it. Compose your own songs and sing them. Write your own interpretation of scriptures and history and teach them as far as interpretation of others affect your race. Challenge the thought of any book of other literature that discredits you in any particular way, and give it the widest publicity so as to undo the harm intended. Remember always that an error not corrected ultimately becomes a fact. Never allow false statements or allegations against your race to become current and pass into history as if they were facts. Boy, you better do it right. You know what I'm saying? But listen to that. Never allow false statements or allegations against your race to become current and pass into history as if they were facts. Remember always that an error not corrected ultimately becomes a fact. And that's going to conclude today's message to the people. Peace and power from Harvey Garvey and Prince Harvey Garvey, aka Prince Sankara. My name is Prince Sankara. My name is Prince Sankara. Tusk up. And I'm a black elephant.